First, we start off with another wild week for the markets. The Dow making triple digits moves nearly every single day, and it was a roller coaster of emotions as you're up, then up big, then down. The Dow managed to end the week in the green, snapping a 3-week losing streak. And check out some of the big movers this week. Home Depot, IBM, Morgan Stanley, and United all with wild swings. So we thought it would be the perfect time to play America's favorite game, Trade It or Fade It. Since Guy's not here, I'm not going to explain the rules. How's that?
Oh, wow.
We're going to just kick it off straight off the bat.
I think we can do this without Guy.
Trade it or fade it.
Okay.
Home Depot down 6% this week. Tim.
I'm going to trade that thing. Bottom line here is I think Home Depot is treated as if it's an interest rate sensitive. I don't think it is yet this week. We got the mortgage rates that are now at 2011 highs, Mel. I think the reality is this is the ultimate consumer discretionary play. In fact, it's the opposite. The consumer's never been better. Housing stock is lower. They're staying in their homes. There's not enough supply out there, and they're spending money on their home. Asset prices are actually going higher. Home prices aren't falling, but home sales are while mortgage rates go higher. So
how are they paying for those to the redos? Because I agreed with you in the last cycle, but this time it seems like those home equity loans are going up. The reason how they're paying for it is actually going up. I don't think they're going to pay for it as much as they did in the past. I would say fade it.
Well, first of all, I think they have jobs. I think they have their wages are going higher. I think the asset value underlying, which means they can at least tap into home equity. They have home equity. So they may be paying a little bit more on that loan.
Right.
I don't think when people are taking out home equity loans, they think as much about it because they're getting cash to them right then and there, and they're spending it on these houses.
Well, the one thing you do have to worry about, though, is the home price index year over year is starting to roll over. And we saw that, in the last couple housing issues. Now, I'm not saying we're having another housing crisis. I'm just saying the price of houses, the rate of change is rolling over. And then you couple in everything else. And yeah, maybe the consumer has a little bit more money in their pocket, but things cost a little bit more because of inflation at this point.
The stocks are having
Dan, they're ganging up on me. I hope you have something positive to say about the housing crisis. I don't know, but I need help.
I think everything what these two guys have said reflect the sentiment of the move from 215 since November 10th to where it is right now at 175. If you look where it bottomed out at 170 back, I think, in March or April, you're looking at a stock that actually is trading at a market multiple. It's obviously a premier retail name. And I think at this rate, Tim, you're going to get a chance to buy it at 170. Give it 2 more days. You know what I mean? So I think you fade it a little longer here, but then I think you trade it back near those March lows.
I agree with that. There is a $10 below this supporting it, but everything is getting hit. So you said there might not be a housing crisis. Yeah. All the housing stocks are in crisis right now, so that's a problem.
This isn't a housing stock, though. Again, this is a consumer discretionary play.
This is the first time it's traded like one.
I think the issue with Home Depot is it often gets thrown in that basket. But to me, basically the home retailers don't have the same issue as big box. They don't have the overstoring.
But I don't think it ever
very specialized. They have the professional service.
I don't think it ever traded like a home builder.
I thought you just said they trade like home stocks.
Right now, this is the first time in the cycle that Home Depot has traded with the home builders, as far as I can remember. It always traded like a retailer that serviced the home builders.
I think the most troubling thing, real quick, is just how quickly the stock has dropped. And so, home builders have been making new lows for like months now, and the fact that it just joined the party, that's the one thing that I think is kind of curious. That's all.
All right. Morgan Stanley is our next stock. This week it's up 7%. Steve Grasso.
This one's easy. This whole space has a headwind to it. It's down 11% year to date. Even with good news, this entire space fade it.
Fade it.
They can't rally the space. I think that this should be an optimum time for these guys and the rest of the field, and you just can't trade it. You can't trade it. You have to fade it.
Okay, but I know I'm not going to have Dan's support on this, but I would trade it. And I would trade it because that's the whole point. I think the sentiment in this sector is so poor. Morgan Stanley announced numbers. Yes, they have fee income compression, but the bottom line here is the valuation is extremely interesting. I think the banks, if we're in this environment where people are concerned about a stronger economy, which means higher interest rates, I don't like the chart. I don't like anything about it other than the valuation. That sentiment is so poor right now that suddenly these guys are going out of business with their best balance sheet and best capital return in years.
I don't think the chart looks that bad if you're talking about a short-term trade, so I would trade it. I think it held up pretty well relative to everything else that was going in the market today. This week we had that bounce. Now you know where you stop out, so risk-reward, you trade it.
I see no reason to trade it. I mean, it seems like there's a
which means fade it.
Hope you fade it. Hopey over here keeps talking about how this cycle's going to turn. This is going to be great for them, this and that, and they go lower. I mean, it did have a pop after earnings, after sentiment was so poor, and there were things to pick out in the results. But I just don't get why you have to stick your toe in the water with these names.
Do you remember that Life cereal commercial with that
Mikey
little
likes
Mikey?
it. Mikey likes it. We know what happened to Mikey, by the way.
Once you get the stock that Dan likes, we're going to say that Mikey likes it. Finally.
That sounds like a new game.
A few.
Remember what happened to Mikey? He suffered a very unfortunate fate.
Pop Rocks?
Pop Rocks.
No, that's urban legend.
Okay.
I want to move on to the
No.
next IBM. It was down 8% this week. BK.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Mikey
that's
likes
easy,
it.
BK.
Mikey likes it on this one, or you trade it. So I know it's been down, yes, but it got hit with the market. To me, in this environment, you want to be looking for idiosyncratic growth. I think they have that with Watson. I think they have that with blockchain.
Just not
They're
enough.
starting to turn that around. It's not enough, but you have to believe in that turnaround story, and I like that here, so you trade it.
Idiosyncratic growth means that they have no growth. In other words, that you're trying to find.
No.
It means you're trying to find idiosyncratic
No, it
growth in Watson
it
because it's the
grows
one place.
outside of what the economy does.
Or the one place where they might be growing because they're not growing anywhere else. And to me, I think IBM is a turnaround story that continues to try to turn. The valuation, I would argue, isn't terribly cheap, especially for a company nothing duplicitous here, but they engineered earnings for 5 years, and I'm not even sure it was real. I would stay away from this name.
Well, Watson, no offense, in blockchain,
Yeah.
it's just the rounding errors.
Tiny,
That's
tiny,
it.
tiny.
Incremental.
Yeah. Fade it.
You can't everywhere they need to be. They can't get there quick enough. The ship is
You're
too
also
big.
fade. All these fades against
Sorry,
you.
trading it.
BK.
We're
But
trading
don't
it,
you
sorry, yeah.
acknowledge that Watson and blockchain are such a tiny part of revenues that
Right.
it can't turn the ship around?
Well, I think it can turn the ship around,
Right,
not
at
today,
what
but
point?
that's part of the
Not 5 years.
turnaround
when you
story.
extrapolate the growth of those businesses, at what point does that actually make an impact in terms of percentage on revenue?
I think if you're looking at a stock that's come down like this, you look back and look where the support is on this, you're talking about a turnaround story. So you have to, that's what investing is. We don't have all the information. You have to extrapolate this. So for me, I'd absolutely be in this.
All right. Last but not least, United Airlines up 9%. Dan Nathan.
Yeah, 9% on the week. It's up 30% on the year. It massively outperforms almost every name in the space. I'm fading it.
Oh,
Now, let me tell you why.
I gotta tell you, I was excited.
I thought you were going to say
You
traded.
see what I did there?
Yeah.
Okay, but here's the deal. I mean, the rest of the group acts so
Got me.
badly. When you look at Delta, you look at American, massive underperformance. Tim, you've been right on this name, and here's my point. From a trading perspective, I don't know what the catalyst is going to have it break out to new highs. And so, to me, I think you probably have some room. You could trade it down near that 80 level or something like that. I'm not sure you buy it right here.
Where Dan, I think, is going with this is that these have been great trading stocks. And if you look at United or Delta, you've had probably 10 times to trade 15 to north of 15% trading ranges up and down over the last 6 months, with the overall move being higher. With United, they've found ways to disappoint you multiple times. I think Mr. Munoz could do that to you again, even though I do like the sector. I'm very comfortable with valuations here. And as far as I'm concerned, people think that airlines cannot raise or they raise prices because of higher oil prices. I think that's actually a good thing. It gives them pricing power in a difficult time. Airlines.
For me, it's a fade, without a doubt. Absolutely. I mean, look at this thing up against $90. You've had this rally. Now let's take the overall market. Doesn't look fantastic. No place I want to be.
I would fade that one and buy Spirit Airlines just to switch in, throw my own game in here.
And would you rather
Yeah, I
the
just did
trader
it.
fade it?
It's too late.
He
You can't
played
take it
3
back.
games in 1.
Can't take it back.
It's like a turducken.